Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. This is Aniket Amdekar and wishing everyone a very happy, good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending where you are joining us from. Today, I'm the host for the PSAI Talk Show. PSAI is a unique community where the professional speakers get to network with each other. They get to promote the business of professional speaking. They create powerful collaborations, and not just that, they have a global exposure by learning from the global speakers. Today, I welcome you to the PSAI Talk Show Global. This is the first episode of this show. And today, in this show, we are going to start learning from the global speakers. In fact, our first guest today is quite a remarkable, unforgettable speaker. And we are going to learn from him how to become an unforgettable speaker ourselves. Now, before we go ahead, we have a special intro for our speaker. Can we please have the intro being played?
You have value. You have purpose. You have power. How good can you be? How awesome can you be? I believe there's more for us to do, there's more for us to be, and there are more people we can change. Many of us don't allow our best to get better. Many of us don't think to even elevate our level of excellence. If we shift the way we think on this journey, we believe our thoughts make us strive. If we believe our words share our wisdom, then we can build the level of confidence that we need.
Mark Brown, he was phenomenal. Not only inspired 839 participants, but did so effectively over a virtual platform.
As much as your audience wants to hear you, they really want to know you.
Let's welcome our speaker on the virtual stage. Our speaker today is somebody whom I have been following for the past 7+ years, have been listening to his podcast, or have been a part of the various programs that they organize. Let's welcome Mark Brown, the world champion of public speaking, on this virtual stage. Hello, Mark, and welcome to
Greetings.
PSAI.
Oh, thank you so much for the honor of serving you. Vanakkam. Pleasure.
It's wonderful to have you with us. And as you said in the introductory video, the audience wants to know you. And the audience in India, the audience from PSAI, the speakers, we really want to know you. So, Mark, we would like to know from you your journey as a professional speaker. If you were to summarize that in one sentence, how would you say?
In one sentence, my journey would be I'm thankful for Toastmasters because they opened the door to the National Speakers Association and to groups like PSAI. The journey began there and it continues to this day.
Wow, fantastic. Toastmasters, NSA, PSAI. Now, we saw your world championship uh, of public speaking and professional speaking as well. And your world championship video is really special. Can
Uh,
you tell us more about how you came up with that speech and what was your journey towards the title?
well, thank you so much. I will say that the videotape of my World Championship winning speech from 1995, that is 30 years plus as of this recording today, we're live. That speech was created back in, I guess, late 1993, 94, because I was watching a Disney film with my children one afternoon and I saw a message embedded in the cartoon. I taught my children that message and thought that message about intolerance, indifference, and ignorance, how we treat people differently, needs to be
Right.
shared. And I wrote a speech based upon that Disney cartoon film. And to this day, people are still commenting on the YouTube video, which is a surprise to me. But I'm thankful that the message has had a long shelf life. People still see value in the message.
Absolutely. I think the message from that speech was so timeless that
Mm.
1995 and 2025, we still find it relevant.
30 years. I tell people I did win the title 30 years ago and I have the VHS videotape to prove it, but the message has been resonating and I still get comments on it. And interestingly enough, very quickly, in terms of my journey as a pro speaker, that was a 7-minute presentation that I gave in that contest. But since that time, I've taken that speech and I've honed it and changed it and prepared it for use for students ages 12 through 18 in secondary and middle schools here in North America and around the world. And I still get asked to deliver that presentation after 30 years.
Absolutely. That age group of 12 to 18, that's such an impressionable mind.
Oh,
So
definitely.
the speeches that you share, what kind of feedback, what kind of comments do you hear from them when you deliver those speeches?
Well, having tailored my speech for the young audience, I have kids who write me notes. They send me emails. I've had parents thank me. I've had individuals who were just so grateful that they were able to hear from me, and I'm very thankful because the most memorable experience I have is back in 2023. An email came to me from a school, and it blew me away. I'm going to read for you briefly what it says here. A request to speak to youth about bullying and changing their lives. Quote, you spoke to a group of our students 15 years ago at Xavier University. It changed the trajectory of the year for our students. While many things have changed, kids still don't make the best choices. We are in need of another fresh breath to help change the minds of our youth and trajectory of the school year. 15 years later, that email came to me and I was blown away. And it taught me a lesson, Aniket. It taught me
Yeah,
that as professionals, we need to prepare and present our programs with excellence. We need to be the best that we can be to have impact on our audiences. And that one email told me if I do my job well and be professional, I can have an impact.
absolutely. Getting that email, I can just imagine the kind of pride and the kind of feeling that you must have had. Now, you mentioned about being a professional and pursuing that excellence. Now, I am representing the professional speakers from India today.
Yes.
Now, we always discuss about excellence in speaking is always a moving target because the audiences keep changing. The Gen Z, the Gen Alpha, the Gen Beta, their language keeps evolving. So, how do you keep up with these changing targets and the moving targets?
Indeed, truly moving targets. One of our advantages can be simply our own families. Now, my wife and I have children, but they're not young kids. Our children are 31, 39, and 41. So when we're a bit older, my gray hair can prove that. But funny, they will use language that which is unfamiliar to us. So we'll ask him, what does that even mean? And
Yeah,
thankfully, with the advent and the emergence of Chat GPT and other AI tools, we can learn more quickly. But it's
right,
important to keep pace with what are kids involved in. I didn't know what Snapchat was years ago, but I now make reference to
right.
Snapchat. So we understand they like to be on Instagram. Kids talk to each other on their devices while they're in the same room. So you
Yes,
understand the habits. So I have to follow, be aware, keep my ear to the ground, have conversations, talk with friends who still have kids, interact with kids, so I can reach that demographic. In the same way, depending
yeah,
upon our audience, we have to educate ourselves about our audiences because our job is not just to bring our best program, it's to
right.
bring our best program with the goal of serving the audience. We need to be aware of what's happening with them.
We need to educate ourselves about the
Definitely.
audience and we need to be obsessed with our target audience.
Definitely.
Very, very nicely said, Mark. You also mentioned about being relevant.
Mm.
Now, in this age where people can find a shortcut in AI and Chat GPT, how do we remain relevant?
That's a very, very good question. Our relevance, our relevance is relative. Let me clarify that. Our relevance depends on how our audience sees our relevance. I may think I have all this knowledge, this expertise and information. That's fine. But if my audience doesn't find me relevant, I'm wasting my time, my energy, and my breath. So it goes back to understanding who our audience is. What's shifting?
Yes.
What's changing? What language is now appropriate in the field which I pursue? Am I listening to my audiences? And when I say listen
Right.
to the audience, not only when you talk to them, but what's trending in the industry? Are we
Right.
keeping track of periodicals? Are we getting linked in with individuals who are in our field? Do we have conversations? Do we engage, say, on LinkedIn? Do we
Right.
read other people's blogs? What steps am I willing to take to truly understand my audience, to understand the industry I'm in, and to understand what is changing? Because change is one constant. So it may seem as if I'm repeating a point, but it's not just researching, it's
Yeah.
understanding with the goal of serving. So my relevance is relative to how my audience and my client sees me.
Absolutely. Not just researching, but understanding with the goal of serving.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mark, for sharing that. You mentioned that change is the only thing that is constant. And one of the biggest change that we all speakers and everyone in the world experienced was the lockdown, COVID
Mm.
19,
Yes.
where shows were just getting cancelled. I remember I was in the middle of organizing one of the biggest conferences in our area, and suddenly we had to call it all off. And now we have
Mm.
to figure out how to use Zoom to connect 250 people together.
Yeah.
How was that experience for you, Mark?
It was difficult because it literally shut down all the plans I had made for speaking. I had some very, very good prospects which did not materialize. Everything shut down. And for a while, I had to shift my business model. And I became more active in coaching presenters because I do have a skill in teaching and educating, so much
Yeah,
so that I have served for the last 2 or 3 years in the National Speakers Association, Georgia, USA chapter, where I'm a member. I have served as the pro speaker coach for our academy. So I
right,
coach our academy attendees on speechcraft, writing, storytelling, and so on. But to answer
right.
the question more succinctly and more specifically, I had to make adjustments to deal with the times. I still maintained opportunities to speak virtually. I had to get
Hmm.
more adept at virtual presentations, engaging
Yeah,
in that manner. But I couldn't abandon the prospect of giving presentations. And sadly, I was made aware of some individuals who were not comfortable with virtual, and they pretty much
yeah,
stopped speaking until things came back together. But most
yeah.
of us who went through the pandemic realized we had to change something, whether it
Yes,
meant more virtual, whether it meant group, whatever it was, we had to adapt. And I trust that you and your audience were able to do so successfully. I
yes.
do have one thought, Aniket, for those who are newer to the PSAI, who did not have to face 2020, 2021 in the way that we did. I would invite you to still, however, be aware and be flexible and think of how many different ways can I serve my audiences in case
Yeah,
something unexpected should happen. I should have at least some kind of plan. And sometimes that plan involves collaborating with others together to serve your audiences.
absolutely. So having a plan B, having different kinds of skills so
Yeah.
that you don't put all of your eggs in the same basket,
Yeah.
that's always something that can save you. Is that right, Mark?
Indeed, indeed. And I got a very good bit of advice from a man named Mark LeBlanc, who's a business guru here in the USA. And he talks about having a menu of offerings so you aren't,
Okay.
quote unquote, pigeonholed into just one way that you can serve. It could be
Yes.
doing keynotes, it could also be
Yeah.
doing workshops, it could be group coaching or one on one
Right.
coaching or consulting, but
Right.
have other ways that you can serve audiences. So I speak and I coach, I also group coach, I also collaborate. I have found different ways since then to serve my audience and also pay my bills.
Thank you for bringing that up, Mark. No, I think we really appreciate the way you're sharing all the points, and you talked about collaborations, and I want
Yeah.
to dig a little bit deeper over there.
Sure.
because collaborating with Darren LaCroix, Patricia
Yeah.
Fripp, you have created an amazing universe, the Stage Time University. So I think that collaborative effort is something we would really love to hear about. How did the
Well,
idea come up of that?
truth be told, Stage Time is Darren LaCroix's brainchild. And for those who don't know, Darren LaCroix is also a professional speaker, also a
Yeah.
CSP certified speaking professional, also a Toastmasters world champion of public speaking. And my partner, Darren LaCroix, is the only human being to also be a Toastmasters accredited speaker. He's the only
Yes.
person in the world, Aniket, who has all three designations. And he had a
Wow.
desire to teach, and he was selling CDs and speaking, and he wanted to build something that was more useful and more cost effective and to reach
Yeah.
a larger group. He built Stage Time University. And I believe there are individuals who are on the call, who are watching today, who are part of Stage Time. And Darren has recruited me and others to work with him to create an atmosphere, a community where people can grow and learn the skills and become adept at not only the speaking, but also
Yeah.
the business of speaking. And I've worked with Darren closely for many, many years. I was his coach when he won the Toastmasters World Championship way back in 2001. And I began
Right.
with him very, very much more. uh, I began working with him on a more regular basis about 10 years ago in
Hmm.
2015. And we do
Okay.
workshops. We have the community. We co-wrote a book with the great Patricia Fripp. You're aware of the book, Aniket. It's called Deliver Unforgettable
Unforgettable
Presentations. It's right
presentations.
here.
Yes. Right
And
there.
I just found out, Aniket, from the publisher that it's available on Amazon in India now.
Yeah.
I think as of a week and a half ago. I'm not sure where to find that link right now, but I was informed you can get it in India for the first time, and I'm thankful. But I kept pushing, can we get the book in India? I've been to India so many times. I was in
Yeah.
Jaipur in May. I've been to Chennai. I've been to Delhi. Been to Agra,
Yeah.
and I'm honored that people ask, can we get the book in India? So please
Right.
verify if you can, my friends. But I'm told it's as of last week, it is now available in India to purchase on Amazon. So there you go.
Absolutely, Mark. I remember when the book was launched, and I had been following Darren and you and the podcast. When
Yes.
I came to know that the book has been released, I checked on Kindle and I was able to find it there, and I bought it immediately. And it has been in my collection. I've been reading it multiple times. So
Yes, the
certainly
Kindle
a great
version.
asset.
Yes, the Kindle version was released earlier, but
Yeah.
I'm told that it is now available to order on Amazon. There is
Okay.
currently is one distributor in India, so I hope those who are interested will get a chance to get a copy of the book. It's a wonderful book. I enjoy it. I still I use my own techniques, so I don't just say it to give. I use the techniques in the book. It's wonderful. So thank you so much for mentioning the book, Aniket. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, when we as speakers, when we are planning the different ways in which we can serve the audiences, one of the most common mediums that is consumed these days is the podcast.
Yes.
And many of our speakers in or members of PSAI have their own podcasts going on that have been running really successfully. Now, talking about podcasts, you have been running the Unforgettable Presentations podcast for a while.
Yes.
So I wanted to know about your journey over there as well. What kind of challenges you saw? How do you get so many amazing guests on your podcast? Would like to know about this.
I really appreciate that question, Aniket. The idea of the podcast was birthed in the summer of 2019. Interestingly enough, it was the year before the pandemic hit. But Darren LaCroix and I were at a Toastmasters International Convention. It's held every year in August. We were in, I think, Denver, Colorado. I was giving a keynote at Toastmasters that particular year, and we met, and he says, Mark, we need to start a podcast. And the branding
Right.
is going to be about being unforgettable. I said, okay, I'll follow your lead. So we started the podcast. We began working with
Um, Mark, I think you got on mute. Um,
Okay.
yes,
Can you hear me now?
yes, we can hear
What did
you.
you hear so far? How far did you hear?
We heard about the idea of the podcast
Ah, good.
and how you started to discuss about it.
Yes, that was 2019. And in my
Yes.
keynote, I took the step of saying we will begin the Unforgettable Presentations podcast after this convention. We weren't exactly clear how we were going to do it, but Darren had the idea. I said, fine, I'll follow your lead. And he became the producer of the very first episode. We first released an episode on a Thursday in August 2019. And since that day, we have not missed releasing an episode on a Thursday. We now have over 325 episodes on any podcast platform. Many are recorded and placed on YouTube as well. Now, the second part of your question was, how did we get so many interesting topics and unique guests to join us? It's interesting. An upcoming episode is entitled Ask. And we asked. We had made friends through the National Speakers Association. We had become acquainted with some of the greats in the business, people like Les Brown, who, by the way, now lives in the state of Georgia and is a member of the Georgia chapter of the National Speakers Association. We got to meet the late Jeannie Robertson. We know Patricia Fripp, Alan Weiss. We've had the privilege of people like Brian Tracy who would come on the podcast because we asked. And many of them were willing to come on the podcast, not only because we asked, but they saw our body of work. They saw our commitment to our clients. And the podcast is a free podcast. There is no payment. There's no Patreon. It is a free podcast from our hearts to serve the speaking community across the world. Not only Toastmasters, but also professionals as well. So once the goal was set, we made a commitment, and every week we produce a new episode. And I will confess, Aniket, it's difficult to find new material that you believe will resonate. However, many of our episodes are birthed from an experience we had the week before or the month before, or a client had, or an experience we had on the job at an event, dealing with an audience, dealing with a bureau. Just conversations. So here's the tip for everyone here who's a podcaster or potential podcaster. Keep your ear to the ground. What questions are people asking you privately that you can answer publicly on your podcast? And can you bring them on to ask those questions, have those conversations, and then give your podcast audience a stage, a front row seat to a conversation that can help them in their business and their career as well.
So true. So true. Keep your ear to the ground, keep listening to those questions and find a pattern in those questions. And that pattern will lead to your next episode and your next guest. And as you said, ask and you shall receive.
Very well said. Yes, indeed. I agree.
Now, in one of the recent episodes, you had mentioned it's not the speech that you give, it's the life that you live. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
I have found that, and I'm convinced, our lives are the fodder and the fruit for our presentations. And while we have content, we have information, we have expertise, that's very, very good. And the audience needs our knowledge. They need our expertise, yes. But I always teach, you bring yourself to every presentation. What do I mean by that, Aniket? I mean our personality, our experience, and our experiences, including our failures, our mistakes, our missteps. We bring our full lives, our whole being to every presentation. And not only will the speech and the content serve, but the life that we have lived and the experiences that we can then share can not only inform and educate, but also inspire audience members, particularly if we focus on shared experiences. When the audience understands your experience, real life, and can relate to the experience, they can then visualize themselves, they see themselves in you, and they can be more willing to receive the information you have because they can identify with you. The life you live really informs the message that you share.
Very, very, very nicely said, Mark. The life that you live is the message that you are sharing.
Yes,
so true. Now, as professional speakers, one of the One of the most common thing that everyone does is they are learning. We are all sponges and we are absorbing all the time. Where do you learn from? What do you do to prepare for your next gig? How do you keep yourself updated? And what's your process for your next keynote?
I really enjoy these questions, Aniket. You keep my brain working, but I really appreciate the question because I have a philosophy. When I stop learning, I stop living. When I stop learning, I stop living. I must be very clear here. There are those who equate learning with academia, with studying, with going online, an online course, with learning a new tool or technique, which is available to us these days because they say you can learn so much with these devices and online. But part of the learning comes from what we call the school of life and the school of hard knocks. I find I learn by listening to, having conversations with, and honestly trying to understand humans. When I say
Right.
humans, I talk to my children. I talk to
Yeah.
people in my neighborhood. I have conversations. I I learn from television. Now people think, yeah, the news is so depressing, whatever. I think back 30 years. I watched a Disney cartoon called Beauty and the Beast. Embedded in that cartoon was a message of intolerance, how we treat those who are different. A message of one person, one man, Gaston, who would incite a mob to attack someone who lived far away who wasn't bothering anybody. And I say that to say I learned lessons by watching film. I watch documentaries. I ask questions. I have a curious mind. I watch nature documentaries. I've learned lessons from the ants in an anthill about teamwork.
Right.
So for me, learning isn't only academic, it's what's happening around me. How can I
Yes.
apply that to my message? How can I apply that to the work I'm trying to do? How can I use these techniques to connect with people in the audience? How can I find a way to connect with somebody who is different, who may not share my belief system, but whose life is nonetheless valid, important, and
Yes.
who can teach me something? So be
Right.
always learning, not purely in an academic sense, but just be
Yes.
aware of what's around you. One of the
Right.
best bits of advice I received from a speaker, Aniket, came from the late Jeannie Robertson, who was a humorist and legendary for many, many years. I said, Jeannie, you're in your 70s. You do a new 1.5 hour show every year full of humorous stories. How you keep doing it year on year on year? She says, Mark, just look around you. Be aware and be open. Humor is everywhere. Life is everywhere. And life can teach
Yes.
you so much and make you laugh. I would like to pass that on to you and your viewers today.
Yeah.
The world around is constantly saying, Mark, pay attention. I have a lesson to teach you. And
Yes.
that is wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. True. So true, Mark. Thank you so much for sharing that. We have lessons all around us. Now, Mark, earlier, as I mentioned, I am representing the PSAI today, and all of our members are watching. They are listening in, and they are curious as well. So, now I'm speaking with all the members of PSAI. If you have a question that you want to ask Mark, please go ahead and add that comment to the YouTube video or the LinkedIn Live so that we will get that answer from Mark. If you have that curious question just burning under your fingernails, bring it out. We are eager to hear that. Now, Mark,
Yes.
one thing that I always love is there are certain sentences that you have coined. For example, in the podcast, you mentioned your life tells a story, and there is someone out there who needs to hear it. How
Yes.
do you come up with these signature sentences?
Ah, I call them Mark isms, and I would encourage everyone to consider what is a nugget of wisdom you have learned that you believe needs to get passed on. And I would invest time. I'm a word nerd, okay? I love words, I love language. And I did invest time trying to make it sticky, catchy, and phrase it in a way that is memorable. And I have several of them. However, I realize in the 21st century, we have wonderful tools like ChatGPT, where you can
Yeah.
give an idea and you can prompt ChatGPT to say, listen, here's my idea. Please help me to create a catchy phrase 10 words or fewer to convey this
Yes.
idea. If you can, include a rhyme. And the
Right.
more detailed you make the query, the more it will give you. Now, I'm not saying to simply accept what ChatGPT gives, but
Yes.
ChatGPT will take your idea, give you options, but I would invite you, rather, I would implore you not to simply accept what ChatGPT gives you, but work on it, humanize it, personalize it, personalize it so much it becomes part of your personality. We want to hear your voice in the phrase, not a voice from ChatGPT. But think of nuggets of wisdom you want to
Yeah.
pass on and find ways to phrase them in a way that are very sticky and the
Yeah.
audience will make it memorable.
Absolutely. One thing that I like to do, Mark, on the similar lines is if I'm reading a book and I like a phrase, I highlight that and I write it down in my Evernote, which
Yes,
is where I write down all my stories, and
yes,
I keep collecting those good words.
yes.
And I've got many of those from different books and podcasts. And then when I'm writing my next keynote speech or my training, I try and find avenues to bring those out and try and experiment with those words. Is that
Excellent.
something? What
Well,
do you
no,
think
I
about it?
appreciate it because I got you mentioned Evernote to keep your
Yes.
stories and your quotes. I use one called Microsoft OneNote, very similar.
Mhm.
And I would invite those who are watching today, please make sure you keep track of your stories, your ideas. For the longest while, I had a list of maybe 200 quotations. I love quotations. But then somebody once said, "That's great, Mark. You're going to quote all those people, but who's going to quote you?"
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, who's going to quote me? So, okay, now I begin to think of how can I share my ideas. And even when I coach clients, I do coach quite a bit now. I have certain lines and phrases or principles I teach, but I make
Hmm.
them catchy phrases. For example,
Right.
I tell individuals, I had to learn this too, that our stories are unique and somebody needs to hear them. You said, your life tells a story, but there's someone out there who needs to hear it. That
Right.
concept From that concept, I also built one more phrase because our lives, we live our lives, and it's no big deal to us. However,
Right.
there are times someone will hear your story and say, "Boy, you did that? That's amazing." You're like, "Well, what's the big deal?" The thought is this:
Hmm.
one man's mundane is another man's magnificent.
Right.
One man's mundane is another man's magnificent. A quick example for you and the PSAI, friends here. In my history, part of my story is the fact that I left Jamaica, my home country. I was 18 years old. I had a high school diploma. I had two suitcases and 40 US dollars in my pocket. Now, people here, wait, you were 18, 40 bucks in America from Jamaica. Now you're a world champion speaker. You were CSP. You traveled the world. You talked to over 2 million people. Wait. What does that mean? Oh, I don't think about it because being in America at 18 with $40 was my life. That was my situation. To others, it's fascinating. To me, it's
Yeah.
just, yeah. So I invite you all to examine your own lives. If people are asking you your story time and time again, how did you do that? I don't, wait, you were only 18? What? If people are asking you that, they're telling you there's something in your story that is magnificent to them, but it might be mundane to you. And I say
Right.
all that to circle back to the point that you have within you your own catchy phrases that you can then share with your audiences. They can become your signature by which
Yeah.
people know you and they'll
Yes.
remember you for it. Please do not discount the power of your own catchy phrases. I call them my Markisms. Think about them, coin them, let ChatGPT be your intern, your assistant, but make those phrases fully your own and may you all be remembered for your own catchy phrases.
Wow. Wow. That's certainly something that's going to stay with me for a long time. Don't really discount your catchy phrases. You talked about signature phrases, Mark. Just
Yes.
like every chef has their signature dish,
Yes.
every speaker have got their signature story as well.
Yes.
So how
Yes.
does somebody um, shine their story and make it better and more relevant depending on who they are going to speak with? How
Ah.
do you keep your signature story relevant?
In essence, your signature story is your own. And it's called a signature because no one signs like you and no one has lived your life but you. The trick is, and I use the word trick loosely, the key is to understand the value of your story. So I go back to my previous phrase. People often say my life is boring. It's not exciting. I didn't climb Mount Everest uphill, backwards, barefoot, both ways. I didn't have to cut my arm off to escape. I didn't have to go through all this life threatening, and I didn't walk on the moon. And I understand that. But here's my question for you. How many people in the audience can relate to walking on the moon or climbing Everest or battling an anaconda in the Amazon? No.
Right.
But how many can relate to moving to a new country?
Yeah.
Starting over, getting married, losing a loved one, having to relocate, having to change careers. These are our everyday experiences. And your signature story is your own experience. However, tap into the common emotion the audience has. Because, Marxism, the common connects. The common connects. So find your story. Ask yourself, what is interesting about my story? And here's a way to cheat on that process. What parts of your story do people always ask you about?
Right.
The cream will rise to the top. If you're constantly hearing this, hey, Aniket, tell us again how you got into cybersecurity. What was that all about? What made you choose that career?
Yeah.
If people are asking you, they're telling you we are interested, and that becomes part of what people want to hear. So then you must now craft that story in a way that's engaging. And there's several components to a signature story. It has to be the characters. Of course, that's you. It has to be a journey up and down. It has to be conflict, a challenge. It has to be dialogue between characters. And I do a whole workshop on storytelling. But I tell you, your story has to be honed and crafted, tested, tried, adjusted, modified to serve the audience. And also, you mentioned different audiences and changes, Aniket. It is Aniket. I want to say it the right way, right? But when we have a different audience demographic, what we will find is there are certain perspectives on our story that will appeal to one particular audience, and a different perspective will appeal to a different audience. Part of our responsibility as professional presenters is to understand which perspective best serves which demographic. I can tell the same story to kids from a different perspective, but to adults in a different way. That's how we must think about our story. It's still ours. The characters must be there. The drama must be there. The dialogue must be there. The intrigue must be there. The conflict must be there. The resolution must be there. The message must be there. But you have to be very careful how you target your different audience demographics.
So true. Because the cultural sensitivities are very different.
Yes, indeed.
I think we have a question from the audience.
Yes, go ahead.
Mark, how do you measure the success of a speech beyond the applause?
I may offend some people by saying this, my friend. The applause in itself doesn't always measure success. And I'm going to get in trouble by saying this, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm old enough to take the hits for this. I have found, particularly with the National Speakers Association here in North America, very often the standing ovation is a standard. Everyone in the standing ovation, yeah, you're great, you're great. Personally, I don't measure the applause that much. What I'm grateful for are the LinkedIn messages, the SMS, the WhatsApp, in the hallway when someone stops me and says, you spoke to me. It's being at the pool when somebody says, hey, can I talk to you for a second? It's in the coffee shop at the convention. It's what happens afterwards. That's how I measure success. When someone writes me an email and says, you came to my school 15 years ago, can you please come back? That's how I measure success. The applause in the moment is nice. What happens 3 weeks, 3 months, and 3 years after? That's a true measure of success for me.
Fantastic perspective. Thank you so much for that question, Jasmine. We have a question from Lester.
Yes.
When you look at a speaker who is good, but not yet world class, what internal shift do they usually need to make to elevate themselves? The shift they rarely recognize on their own.
Lester, thank you for the question. And my answer is partly embedded in your question. The shift they rarely recognize on their own. That shift can only come with qualified world-class coaching. This is not an advertisement. This is a fact. As a world-class speaker myself, I still lean on others who can see what I don't. And Darren LaCour will tell you that he had been going to 4 Toastmasters Club. He was part of the NSA, but there are parts of his speech he didn't see until he spent time with me. This isn't a brag. Darren says this. He says, Mark could see in 2 minutes what I couldn't see after 7 years. Now, I did not understand that. I just know I worked on my skill. I have been coached by someone named David Brooks, the 1990 world champion. To this day, I still call him the master mentor. I still speak with him. I still consult with him after 30 years. The short answer is you can't see what you don't recognize. You need world-class coaching from somebody who's qualified, who's willing to help you. And we have to be, as you said, Aniket, earlier, sponges to be willing to receive what they have to offer us. There is no shortcut. If I can't see it, but someone else can, please open my eyes, teach me, show me, help me, because I'm willing to learn. That's my answer.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Jasmine says, thank you for the answer, Mark. Okay. So we certainly have our audiences who are really grateful for all the wisdom that we are getting from you, Mark.
I appreciate that.
When I talk about wisdom, there is a unique stage where for consecutively 2 to 3 days, there is so much of wisdom from global experts that all the professional speakers get to learn from. All of this happens in the Professional Speakers Summit. I remember about 3 years ago, I was in Chennai attending the Professional Speakers Summit, and I was blown away by the experience, and I ended up joining the community immediately. And in fact, our Professional Speakers Summit for 2026 is going to happen soon, and we have a short video for this. So let's play that video and share with the audience what's in store.
One voice can spark an idea, but many voices united create a movement. We are speakers, we are storytellers, we are change makers. We stand on the power of our words, but words alone don't shape the future. It is when voices come together, when knowledge is shared, that's when true transformation happens. We are a young association, bold, relentless, taking confident strides into the world of professional speaking. But we don't walk alone, we rise together. And what better place to experience synergy than a land where time itself has stood witness to it. Welcome to Chennai. This year we gather not just to speak, but to breathe, reflect and connect at a one-of-a-kind beachside retreat in Chennai. Set along the scenic East Coast Road, this beachfront venue blends elegance with energy. Walk barefoot on the sands. Let the sea breeze ignite your next big idea. Share the table with folks from all over the globe and indulge in a buffet that could range from Tair Sadam to biryani, angel hair pasta to zucchini salad, fried fish to grilled lobster, and coconut-drenched curries from coastal India. AI will shape our tools, but synergy will shape our destiny. Because while technology may keep throwing up the next big thing, humanity has always strived on synergy. This is our moment. This is our stage. This is our synergy. Professional Speakers Summit 2026. Lock the date. Come join us. Be a part of the moment.
That looks absolutely fascinating. I'm a bit jealous, I will confess. I've been to Chennai 3 times for a Toastmasters event, and also last year I went for another event, the International Kindness Festival. I spoke in
Mhm.
Chennai there, and I have very good friends in Chennai. And I would encourage everyone in PSAI to make your way to Chennai for that event. It looks absolutely fascinating, and I wish you nothing but massive success with the event.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mark. Mark, now, why don't we get into a rapid fire round? Are you ready for
Okay.
that?
All right, here we are.
All
Short
set.
answer. Short answer. Here we
My,
go.
my first question to you, what would you prefer, a virtual speech or an online presence?
On site or online?
Yes, on site or online?
On site,
On site. And why?
because people can see me, touch me, interact with me face to face in the hallway at mealtime, just being there and enjoying the energy of the people as well.
Absolutely. Now, next question, practice alone or practice with a buddy?
For me, alone.
Oh, cool. One big ideas or three small ideas when it comes to a speech structure?
One big idea first. If you can develop it, that's wonderful. Get one big idea.
Cool. Now, when you talk about speakers, what are the top three books where you think that you have learned a lot from those books?
Wow, that's a very good question. Speakers. Actually, one of the books I have is from Mark LeBlanc called Grow Your Business. Interesting. 17 Minutes to Your Dream by Darren LaCroix is a book I really enjoyed. And it's going to sound self-serving, but deliver unforgettable because Patricia Fripp is the key behind all of this. And she's been a mentor to me for years. And I cannot imagine myself where I am without her help.
Superb, superb. We always talk about do this, do this, do this. But then, if there were three things that you would ask professional speakers not to do, what would they be?
Oh, good one. Three things not to do. One, do not simply bring a speech out of your back pocket to every audience. Find out what they need and customize it. Number two, don't pop in, give a speech, and leave right away if you can. Stay and build a relationship. And number three, do not abandon the opportunity to build a relationship after a presentation that could lead to other opportunities to serve a larger audience.
Wow. Can we zoom in a little bit more on that? How do you build these relationships once you are done with your speech?
Well, one of the keys is after every presentation, have what's called a post-event call with the organizer. And the key is, I would hope we all have pre-event calls to prepare for
Right.
this for the presentation. Before that pre-event call ends, set the date on the calendar for a post-event call within 5 days after the event. And
Right.
in that post-event call, review what went well and also offer opportunities to serve in different ways. What could I have done differently? Given a second chance to do more, could I do a workshop for you? Does anyone need coaching? But just find other ways to serve. The key here is to serve your audience.
To serve the audience. Fantastic.
Yes, sir.
Now, there are some of our members who are having that aspiration to start with the professional speaking journey. They have been working on their speaking skills yet now, so far, and now they want to get into the professional speaking business. What are the three things that you would say that will help them to get started?
Now, I don't know if PSAI is at the place where you have an academy yet, but certainly I would think one would be some kind of collaboration because we can't begin to build a business on our own. And I think I told BJ, I don't consider myself, I don't think of myself as a speaking business guru, but I realized I could never do what I've done without consulting with individuals who have walked the path before me. So one is to find out from those who are there, what are the essentials I have, which basically means have a business guru who's helping you. Nowadays, certainly having a website that's functional is also very helpful in terms of getting out there. And the third is the old saying is you fish where the fish are. Who are the fish in your pond? What pond do you want to fish in? If your target audience has to be in the area of construction, or your
Right.
target audience is in education. Do I
Right.
go and try to target medical professionals? Not necessarily. I want to go where my target audience is. And being a
Yes.
part of a group like PSAI is a brilliant opportunity to network with people there who have greater expertise, who can help you in these three areas. Excuse me.
Absolutely, absolutely. For all those members, I would like to say that you can connect with the members in the chapter of your city, and you can also connect with them in the WhatsApp group that we have and the various online events that we have. And of course, we have PSS in February where you can meet people and have those collaborative discussions with them. Mark,
Yes.
when you look at your journey of attending various conferences, be it Toastmasters, be it NSA, or other conferences, is there a conference that you remember where you made a lot of connections there and that led to a lot of business?
A conference where I made a lot of connections that led to a lot of business. I wish I had more of those. But I do find because in the Toastmasters world, like it or not, because I won the world championship 30 years ago, I have become somewhat of a celebrity. So
Mhm.
it's very easy to make contacts there. And being at Toastmasters conventions has led to opportunities, as has being at the National Speakers Association called Influence here in North America. That's also led to coaching clients and a few opportunities as well. I would encourage everyone to
Mhm.
not discount the value of the professional network that PSAI provides for you. I've also found that speakers sometimes also hire other speakers as their coaches or bring them in to speak at an event based upon their industry. But don't discount the opportunities to meet with people and, if nothing else, to just network, because you may not result in a gig or opportunity immediately, but it may come to you down the road. So use every event as an opportunity to find out what people need, not hungrily saying, I'm going to get a gig out of them, but find out who they
Yes.
are. What
Yes.
are their concerns, and what need might you be able to fill? Think less in terms of getting business and more in terms of, again, I'll say it again, an opportunity to serve. Because when you
So
serve with the right heart, the right mindset, the right heart set, people will notice, and they'll even refer you because you do a good job with the right attitude. Those are my thoughts.
absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mark, for sharing that. And certainly, our desire to serve, if that's burning bright within you, people are going to notice that.
They will see it. Yeah,
Uh,
they'll know your, they'll see your heart. Believe me, they'll
yeah.
see your heart. And I would invite everyone to really do some self-examination. Why am I really doing this? Is it because it
Mm,
can earn me a big paycheck? And maybe it can,
mm,
but who benefits the most from what I have to offer? If we can give benefit, that's look, I'll be really honest here. My absolute biggest fear as a presenter and as a coach is that I'll go to an event, I'll deliver a presentation, and the audience feels I didn't give them value. That's my worst nightmare. Going to a talk, giving my talk, and not leaving value. I would have wasted their time and their money. And it's a long road back for me from that kind of failure because I didn't prepare myself. I took it too lightly. I thought only of what I could get. I learned that lesson long ago. If I have the right
super.
mindset and I serve well, that's going to make a difference.
Super. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mark, for sharing that. I think we have one more question.
Yes.
Let's have the question. Mark, what inspired you to pursue public speaking as a career?
Thank you, Primrose. Your second question today. She is engaged, and I really appreciate that. What inspired me to pursue public speaking as a career? I had no plans to be a public speaker. I joined Toastmasters. I ended up in the World Championship. I won the trophy. And I thought, you know what? If I can really serve people well, if I can make a difference, if I can use my gift and talent to help people, this I must do. And in the course of 3 years, I went from not even having a thought about speaking to realizing that I had a gift. But there is one more part to the story. In New York, a gentleman named David O'Neill challenged me one day and said, Mark, look back over your life. You might find you were born for this. I said, wait, what? Okay. And I engaged in an exercise I invite everyone to engage in. I took some time alone, some solitude, and began to review my life. And I discovered the following. I was probably 8, 9, or 10 years old. I was in a little church downtown Kingston, Jamaica, reciting poetry fearlessly. I was 11 years old in school, and of all the boys in the seventh grade, I was asked to be the one to do a reading at a Christmas program at the school. I wasn't concerned about it. I was elected to office in my high school as a student body president. And in my high school annual yearbook, they wrote, always seen in the center of a crowd, relating one of his experiences to his listeners who have to make sure they have their dictionaries with them for frequent consultations. And in high school, I was asked to give the vote of thanks when our Minister of Education came to our school for an event. And I gave my vote of thanks with no notes, extemporaneously, wonderful, and got a standing ovation. I began to look at my life. I was coaching high school football, soccer to North Americans, in the 1990s, and I was assistant coach. Our last game of the season, head coach says on the bus, Mark, you give the team talk today. I gave a team talk, don't know what I said, but one of my players almost killed herself trying to stay on the field. I said, no, you're tired, take a break. No, coach, you said we could do this. You said, in your speech, you said. I paused. I was 8 years old. I was 11. I was 15. I was 18. My high school buddies saw me as a speaker. I had the gift all along, but it hadn't hit me yet that I must use this gift in service to others. Long answer, but that's how my journey came. And when Toastmasters came along, it all fell into place. Winning the world title, I didn't expect initially, but now I cannot imagine my life not using the gift God gave me in service to others with my passion, with my energy, with my whole being. It is not what I do, my friends. It is who I am that comes out in my presentations.
It certainly does, Mark. Your passion really comes out in your speaking, the way you share your wisdom. And we are truly happy and we are truly grateful that you were our guest on this episode of the PSAI Talk Show Global. Thank you so much, Mark,
I'm
being a
honored.
part of this episode today. There are so many takeaways that we have today. For example, you mentioned don't discount your phrases. You said the common connects. You said you have to test and try your speeches. You talked about building a menu of offerings and something that's so humbling and that's so pure. You mentioned about the attitude to serve and using the gift of speaking to serve others. I think certainly some of these are going to stay with us and help our members in their journey of professional speaking. Any closing words, Mark, for all of our members before we end today's show?
First of all, thanks to you and your team at the PSAI Talk Show Global. I count myself highly honored to be the inaugural, the first guest on the show, and I cannot thank you enough for the privilege of serving you. To PSAI, my friends in India, yes, please attend that summit in February in Chennai, beautiful city, and greet each other. Please hone your skills, work on your craft, collaborate each with each other, build PSAI into the force you can be as part of the Global Speakers Federation, and make sure your heart goes out to your audiences. Share what you have, share who you are, serve them with all that you have, and may each of you have lasting and unforgettable impact on your audiences. If you want to reach out to me, I'm sure Aniket will share those details, but I'm honored to be at your service. And you can find me at markbrownspeaks.com. Would love to chat and talk to you and interact with you and know what value I may have given to you this wonderful Monday.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mark, for all of the wisdom that you shared with us today. And I would also like to thank each and every one of our members who have joined us today in different platforms. I would also like to thank those who are not yet members but are interested, passionate about speaking, and who have been commenting, who has been watching this video. All of you, you need to learn how to be a sponge and keep learning so that we all can be great professional speakers. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Mark. Wish you a great day ahead. And I wish to meet you in person someday.
Hopefully we'll do that. If for some reason I get the Chennai, that'd be awesome, wouldn't it? We'll see. Blessings,
That
my
would
friend.
be really great to have you with us in the PSS 2026, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.